Welcome to the HU Move Makers podcast, where we highlight folks that are blazing the trail and making moves in Howard culture. Welcome to the HU Move Maker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the legacy of Howard University at the highest levels. Today, we have a special guest, someone that you hear at a lot on Valentine's Day. You hear him at a lot on weddings. A lot of special occasions, probably a lot of babies born to this man's voice. Double platinum artist, If I Ever Fall in Love. I'm sure we all heard that song. Writer of the Year, 93 award winner for the song Comforter. Founding member, along with Garfield Bright, Carl Martin, and Darnell Rensselaer in the 91 in the 91 group Shai out of Howard University. Also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Beta chapter. This man was at Howard, if y'all remember Sutton Plaza, that's even before my time. I don't even remember Sutton Plaza.
Whole different Howard.
Now he's a licensed realtor out in Cali. And little known fact, I was reading your bio and I saw you married your wife Darlene, who was in the Baby I'm Yours video.
Yes, sir.
Man,
Yes, sir.
That's crazy. Were you all dating at the time?
We were not. There's a whole story behind that. But when we actually met, she didn't know about the video. One of her friends actually told her the morning of, and she submitted a Polaroid picture. And because nobody really knew that all of us, the four of us, we picked each, young lady in the video. She didn't know for a long time that I actually picked her. So when the production company was like, well, are you sure? Because we have all these pictures of professionals. And I was like, no, that Polaroid, that's the one I want to be in the video. And I walked away from the table and everybody was like, are you serious? Like, yep, that's it. I'm about to walk out.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome Marc Gay. Marc Derek Gay. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for me to reach out to my Howard folks. Howard changed my life from attending, from just being there. And, it's funny because my family actually is a Tuskegee family. And I had to be the different one, the black sheep, to go a different direction. And I'm so blessed that I was able to attend Howard and got everything out of it and then some, all that you could ask for and then some, and going back now. And I just love our college. I love our institution. And I just look forward to bigger things coming from my kids.
Wow, right. Because you have a daughter at Howard now, right?
I do. Her name is Naila. She just finished her sophomore year.
That's great.
On campus. So it's crazy when I go back and she's there and, it's just wonderful.
Memories, don't it?
Oh my goodness. Too many. Too many. I go see the old house on Georgia in Fairmont, 2700 Georgia, right on the corner. And it's right over the guild where the Greeks go to get their paraphernalia. It used to be across the street, but they changed the deli and went from the deli side. And they're actually underneath my room, my old room. They're actually underneath that room now. So it's pretty phenomenal to see the changes.
Crazy. I mean, ton of change. Howard looks so different now, though, when you go in that area.
And from what I hear, they're about to go even crazier and do more stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I'm like, bring it on. Because a lot of the changes were probably needed back when we were there. But, they just couldn't do it then. They didn't have the money to do it, or they didn't just, they just couldn't do it then. So I'm like, bring on the changes and make it happen and make sure our institution is going to last, for a long, long time. So I'm really pleased with that. Most
definitely, man. So what was it like to drop that album? I mean, that record, that's a classic. Like, what is it? And the cool thing, I mean, you dropped that album when you're at the Mecca. You drop it at Howard University, and that's kind of like a golden era of Howard. It was like the golden era to be at Howard, I feel like, because in the 90s, you had everybody from Diddy to Taraji, Marlon Wayans. Y'all, what was that like?
There was so much talent on campus, and there were a lot of singers. Now, freshman year, I just kind of jumped in and went the university choir route. And I was a science major, zoology, So most of my spare time I spent in fine arts practicing on the piano. So I was just doing stuff just to keep my writing up, keep my chops up, and do different things. But around 1990, I think I got the idea to, try out for the talent show, for the homecoming talent show. And I went in as a solo singer. And back then, wasn't good enough to be in the show. And I came back the next year and I took Darnell with me. And actually, I had already written Together Forever. That's on the first album. And we actually sang that in the audition. And I promised that I was going to bring back a group. And the young lady that was over the show, her name is Rayshawn Harris. So Rayshawn said, Marc, don't jack me up. You promised a group. So, I need you to come through with a group. And so Darnell and Carl were already singing on campus because they had just pledged in 1990. And they had a duo called Beta, actually. So they were singing songs on campus. Marcus Johnson was playing with them. And they were, they were kind of up and coming and doing their thing. But because Darnell lived in my building, I would hear them practice and sing all the time. And I was like, you know what? We were doing, for the chapter, we would sing songs for our programs, and we called the Beta Quartet. So we kind of overlapped into a lot of different things, but I played for the Beta Quartet. So between that and pulling him in and pulling a couple of other people in, we actually made it for the talent show in 1991 under the name Spirit. So that was Kevin Monroe, Kevin Bryan, Carl, Darnell, and myself. And we did Boys to Men cover. We did dum 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 da da dum 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 da da da. And so we did that to begin, but we came out of the audience and popped up on stage, and nobody knew that we had this group together at the time. So we got some boos, we got some cheers, and we just kind of ran with it. And we
Howard is a rough place to start.
It is rough.
It's a rough place to start. They booed. I heard they booed Maxwell when he came.
They will boo anybody at the drop of a hat. You come out with one note and it sounds a little easy bit off, it's gonna be on. So we sang that, and we went into Please Don't Go Away From Me, and that's all she wrote. I mean, the success of just having a moment like that with a Howard crowd, you either like it or you don't, and we actually liked it, and we thought we could move forward. And that's when Darnell was like, okay, if we're gonna be serious about it, we're gonna have to practice every day. We brought Garfield in, and that pretty much solidified. By the time we kept doing shows on campus, we were preparing to do If I Ever Fall in Love, but we hadn't quite done it yet. So we practiced every single day, I think, from the fall into the spring. And I was graduating. So that whole semester, I was studying between trying to get auditions in New York and trying to get all kind of stuff happening on my end for graduation, spring break, we're going home. And it's funny because 20 people went to Miami with me. I'm from Miami. So 20 people went home for spring break. And that's how my mom found out, because one of the guys from the frat, he told my mom, yeah, Marc's in the group. And I was like, did you tell her that? And I was like, oh man, like my mom didn't know anything, because my whole focus with her was graduation. I'm just trying to finish and get out of college and that kind of thing. And more, they broke the news to her, and she called me into the room, and she's like, Marc, is everything on track for you for graduation? I said, yeah, I'm on track. She's like, you sure? I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm about to get out of here, and I'm not gonna waste any of your money, and we're gonna make sure that it works. So that's how that was, and we finished out. And then the success of the song didn't happen really until after.
So that was after graduation.
That was after graduation, and we waited. We were still practicing, stayed there for summer. And
I ask a question. So
yeah, sure.
So you from Miami, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, so you're from Miami. I know you said you're from a Tuskegee family.
Mm-hmm.
Why Howard?
In 1986, my dad was in the frat. So there was a national convention actually in DC. So I came to campus in the summer, that we came up to DC for the convention. And I just came up on campus, and it just felt like home. There was nobody on the yard or anything. It's the weirdest thing, because everybody's like, don't you need to come to a homecoming to see what Howard's like? And I was like, no. I was like, this is the place.
Yeah.
I just knew it. I just felt it. It just felt right. And so after I applied, Hampton had given me a scholarship. Tuskegee gave me a scholarship. Howard did not send me any information on a scholarship at all. So
what were these scholarships for?
Uh, about $10,000 because school wasn't as expensive back then. It was still expensive, but it wasn't as expensive. So Hampton had given me 10. I think Tuskegee had given me 10 or 15. And my dad knew somebody at Tuskegee, so he was upset. We're driving from Miami, and the whole time he's like, "Why are we taking him to Howard when we have money from these other institutions?" And man, lo and behold, we get to Howard, and we get to the bursar's office, and they're like, "Mark, we have a scholarship for you." And you know
Oh,
how
wow.
Howard does.
I need an academic scholarship.
It was an academic scholarship, the
Nice.
president's scholarship, and they did not tell you anything until you showed up. No
Well, you know
paperwork,
how Howard is,
nothing.
man.
Exactly. But that was my first time really knowing because nobody in my family had really gone there. My uncle was in the dental school, but he hadn't gone undergrad. So you really don't know what you're going to get till you get there. So the minute that he found out that I had a scholarship, my dad, he shook my hand and was like, "Okay, we're good. We're good."
So you were a pretty good student coming up out of high school.
Yeah. I had pretty much a 3.36 in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I had my grades together, and it was pretty much. But I just knew I wanted to go to HBCU. I knew that just
So
going.
so when you're in Miami, are you singing there? Are you
I was actually doing talent shows, and I was writing music actually back then. Together Forever was actually one of the songs I wrote when I was a junior. So I've been writing songs and getting stuff together all through my high school career. And I was actually in the choir for high school, but I also played basketball. So I played both, and I just kept going, kept going. I never intended on music being my major or anything like that. I just kept practicing and getting ready, and you just have to stay ready for whatever comes up in your life. And Howard had one of those things where it just fine tuned you, and then all of a sudden you put yourself in a situation you have to be ready for it. And luckily we hit the jackpot, and that's all she wrote.
So when you get to Howard, I mean, you said you had visited before when it wasn't really like nothing crazy, but it was something about it that kind of caught your attention. What was the scene like? Because you came in, was that 86? You said you came in
87 I came in.
87.
Yeah.
What was it like? Walk me through like freshman orientation. Like, what do you see? Like, I know obviously it's like a melting pot of just black excellence, but
It was
what's the
black
energy like?
excellent. It was black excellent plus plus plus. Like at this time, the 86 seniors were there, and all these people. I never seen anything like it. It was like an oasis of just everything you could imagine. But it was also the year that School Days came out. Bill Cosby came on campus. Morehouse played Howard for our homecoming.
Wow.
So homecoming was just one of the best homecomings you could imagine at the time. And there were so many people. I didn't know what to do. It was like, how many thousands of people on campus for Morehouse Howard? I had never seen anything like that in my life. I've been to Tuskegee homecomings, but it wasn't like Howard. People coming from all over America, Black people just coming to converge on campus. I didn't even know what to do, but it was just way too much going on at the time.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. So when you get to campus, your major, what was your major?
Zoology.
Zoology. So is it, you had this talent inside of you for the arts, for singing and
Yes.
songwriting.
Yep.
Why not major in theater or
I thought at the time that I wanted to become a doctor. You grow up and people from down south, they really want you to have an occupation that is more consistent than not. And then that was true for my family as well. Teachers, educators, doctors, lawyers, something consistent that, can give back to community. And so singing was never on the top of the charts. And then on top of that, my grandfathers were pastors as well. So very involved with the church. My grandfather was a pastor in the AME church. So I was very, very consistent, very knowing what I wanted to do. And then, all of that, I wanted to do it, but I knew it kind of wasn't working for me. The grades weren't working. The classes I was doing well, but I wasn't doing my best. So I kind of wanted to change and go to business after my sophomore year. And they were like, well, if you come over here, you could start all over. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. So I stuck it out in sciences and ended up having some of my best friends that I ever could imagine in my major. Daniel Hudley, Andre Thomas, and a lot of my good friends are actually doctors now. At least 4 of them are just rocking, and this whole thing going on now. They're working the shifts and making things work. And I know a lot of doctors who are just doing grunt work. Howard doctors, they're doing fabulous job with everything going on now. So it just wasn't my thing at the time. And then my father passed away during my sophomore year.
Wow.
So
Your dad never got to see witness.
No, he never even got to see me pledge alpha.
Wow.
So it was right before I was doing my whole Christmas break, right before I pledged. I was in the hospital in Miami, like just with him every single day. And it was just cancer. He kind of told me what was going to happen. You never really prepared for it, but at the same time, he prepared me as much as he could to make sure that I was ready for it. And luckily, the guys on campus were like, "Are you sure you want to do this, even though your father passed away?" And I was like, "Oh yeah," because I don't want to sit down and think about this every day. It's not what I want to do. And it ended up being.
Your father had a big influence on you.
Absolutely, absolutely. He's the man that told me how to really do stuff, and he showed me how. He was a go-getter and showed me how to hustle and make the T-shirts and sell and sling and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of thing right there stays in you. You have to go get it. And when you come to Howard, you're competing with people who have that mentality already, especially the New Yorkers who come down, or from other big cities. Miami's not a big city like that. And you're from the South, you can be kind of laid back. But once you're around people who are consistently going to get it, and I saw people my freshman year, they were going to get it. They were making business, and people you thought weren't making A's, they were making A's. No problem. Their brains were just clicking like that.
What is it like to get, to come from school, to come from a situation where you might be the smartest, you might be the best singer, you might be the only Black, and then you get to a place like Howard where everybody, hey, I was the best singer, and where I came from, I had 3.6 as well. I got scholarship too.
Yeah. Everybody was like that. So in those situations, you just have to fine tune, and you befriend everybody because you're trying to figure out, okay, I'm in a position where I was good, but how can I get better? I can't be better just by being the best already. I have to be the best by associating with other people and learning what they do and taking the best from what they do. And that's the best thing about Howard. Other people can give you stuff and show you, hey, Mark, come over here and I'm going to show you how to do this. And if you learn how to do this, you'll take it somewhere else, and maybe you could show somebody else how to do some of that stuff too. Mm-hmm. So making friends at Howard, man, these friends will last a lifetime with you. It's no joke. I've been out of school, 28 years now. And man, when I see my friends, it's like yesterday that we were on campus making this happen, going through the science classes, making sure, we're studying for the test, all-nighters, all kind of thing. And you kind of apply everything else to life. And the music business is like that too. You gotta really work. Mm-hmm. And you gotta, stay on top of it. You gotta be aggressive. At the time, you have to learn how to lay back sometimes, and other people make you, famous, that kind of thing. And Howard, it's hard for us to tell somebody I want to lay back, because that's not really our style. Our style is we want to take over, and we know we can take over. But sometimes you just have to learn how to take it down a notch and say, okay, let me learn a little bit from this person, because they have something to offer me. So how can I take advantage of the situation and let them show me what they know about the business?
Welcome to the Goldfish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Goldfish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. So you knew when you got to Howard, Alpha was it. You knew that.
I knew, but I didn't know how to navigate it.
So let's talk about that, for example, because a lot of people that I talked to, including myself, I didn't have any early exposure to fraternities and sororities. So there are unwritten rules about how you kind of express interest, how you learn about it, how you kind of navigate. More so for women than for guys, but what were some of the early things you did to kind of, express interest or
I think
research the organization?
I researched the organization based on my dad didn't really force it down my throat. He just kind of took me to things. He took me to conventions. And then my brother had pledged in '82 down at Tuskegee. So I knew that there was a process. I just didn't know what it entailed. But at the same time, once I got to Howard, I met a few people, but I didn't know. And I actually meet people through playing basketball. I met brother Dana Watkins just playing pickup ball. And I found out he was really cool. He didn't know, I didn't tell him I had any interest at all because that's not something that I was going to do at the time. But when the time came for the smoker on campus and that kind of thing, I knew a few other people who were interested. And then you just kind of kept going from there. And then they kind of figured out who knows what. But I never told anybody that my relatives were alphas. Never, ever, ever. And that point, they didn't find out really until.
Oh, you didn't tell your relatives either?
I told my brother, but my brother ended up telling my uncles who actually showed up when I crossed. But I didn't tell any of the brothers in the chapter that my relatives, and they knew my dad had passed away. So there was no dots to connect until.
So they didn't know your dad was an alpha either.
They knew he was, but they knew he wasn't coming because he had just passed away.
Yeah.
So who was coming if they didn't know? And I didn't tell anybody, my brother, I didn't tell my uncles. And I had 3 uncles that showed up for the crossing. So at that point, they were like, what? What do you mean? Where did this come from? I ain't telling y'all. Nope. No, I've heard stories. I'm not doing that. No. That's how they found out.
Yeah. So what was it like to finally cross after you had been online?
You know, it was a little different back then because back in the 80s, you did stuff on campus on everybody could see everything pretty much what you were doing.
That's right. Yeah, people.
So we were running on campus. We had our backpacks. You had to go meet up to do the greeting. So Big Brother saw you on campus. You had to run, greet. You had to say, and you couldn't mess up because if you mess up and they have somebody they want introduced to you, it's a big mess. So a lot of times I was running at Banneker around the campus because I wasn't running on campus to embarrass anybody. I just didn't want to do that. So I was sneaking to the sciences through the back doors and just all of that. It was a unique experience that I wish everybody could really have done. They changed everything the next year for 90. And I understood why. There was too much going on. And down south it's a free-for-all where people don't really take care of the pledgees like they should. Howard's actually very much contained. So the brothers, when they say we want to bring you in, they actually take care of you. And they protect you from people on the outside. And people would get kind of ticked off by that because they're like, well, the whole point of plaguing somebody is to let the big brothers come in. And they were like, no, we're not going to do that. That's not how we do it. And they teach us everything. They teach us a lot of Egyptology. They teach us just everything we need to know about Alpha, the history. That's why pledging at Howard is such a unique and special experience. And if everybody could have done what Malon did at the time, and it was crazy, yeah, I get that, but there's no other experience that I would have had at that time. It's well worth it.
The probate is the probate, was that similar?
It was similar. It was a little different because we had the brick walk, the ape walk, where we would go up 4th Street, where the annex is now. So we had to start at the bottom. By coming from Carver basically and go all the way up the street, and they would pace us to where we had a set of 7 bricks on our backs. And then one of our line brothers was actually missing. So we had to carry like an extra set. So I started off wearing the extra set to kind of set the tone for the whole thing. So we just make it up that hill. And by the time that's like the peak of everything, because once you get up that hill and get up there and you know that you did that, it wasn't the end, but it was the peak of what people on campus would see. Yeah. And I think you just feel like you could do anything you want to after you finish an experience like that.
And so when you're an alpha now, but some of the guys that pledge you, they're actually in Shai as well, right?
I pledged them, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You pledged them?
Okay. Yeah, I pledged them, Carl and Darnell. They pledged the next year. And actually, I met Darnell in '89 because he went out with me, but he didn't make it that year. So he went out the next year, and he's in the marching band. So he actually made it the next year, and Carl was in that mix as well. Wow. So I knew them really, really well already.
Man, that's interesting. And so So okay, so now you're in Alpha. What year are you now at Howard?
Um, 89, spring 89 is when I played. So spring 90, that's when they played. And we were doing everything together the whole chapter was doing everything together on campus. Like we were just having fun. The previous group that before us, 88, we're all close. 88, 89, 90. We're just, trying to get alphas back on top for everything. Because back then, the Sigmas were really good steppers, and we were not beating them at that point. I don't know what was going on, but we could not beat them. And those guys, the guys that played at the same time I did, Joe and them, they had everything going on. We had battles, but we finally beat them. I want to say either spring 90, I think it was 90. We finally beat them for the first time. And, from that point, the Alphas we just took off, and it just got better and better. And through all the years, we've been doing really well.
Now you get, I guess, the big break. I mean, If I Ever Fall in Love, that becomes a huge deal. Like when that song was written, or when you guys came together, did you like, sometimes I watch stuff and artists say, man, we didn't even think that was going to be the one. We thought it was going to be something else. I mean, when you guys first collaborated on that, did you think that one was going to be the one that got you the notoriety?
Yeah, we knew that song was going to be the one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we knew that because the way the acapella flowed, the way our voices are very specific and distinctive, where we could change our voices in the middle. Our tenors are right close together, and the only one with a deeper tone is Garfield. Mm-hmm. So the way we could switch and do our harmonies and do our parts, nobody could really figure out what we were doing, but we knew what we were doing because we practiced so much. And so once we got into the studio and actually could pull it off to make sure that the studio version sounded like how we would perform it live, and then we would sing it everywhere, and just the reaction that everybody would have, we were like, this has to be it, because the reaction that we're getting is just not normal. It's not a normal reaction. But we would sing it for auditions in New York at record companies. They'd be like the WB Frog. And we're like, what kind of reaction is that? We just sang our hearts out to you, like we doing it. And they're like, nah, we can't sign you yet. Nah.
So when you guys formed this group and you dropped this song, is everybody out of college at this point?
No. When we were auditioning, we were actually during the spring semester. This is before I graduated. So we were auditioning in New York. We would take off, go to New York, come back. We would go down to Virginia Beach because we went to hang out with Teddy Riley down at the Future Studio. We would go hang out down there. And I couldn't go every time because my studies, wouldn't allow me. But the guys would go and do stuff with Leon Silvers and a couple of other people down there. Some of the dopest producers that we met. I mean, I think Pharrell and them were down there, or they were down there after we were there, because Teddy had a group of producers in his camp they would have at the studio doing all the songs. So we met like a whole bunch of producers before all the music came out. And this was after Guy had done most of their stuff. So Guy was doing their stuff, and we were like in between them, and Jodeci and Boys and Men had come out already. So they're trying to figure out what we do. So Teddy really had a chance to sign us, but he had Blackstreet already. So he was trying to figure out, like, how can I sign y'all and I have Blackstreet? I'm trying to put them
who's financing this? You guys in college, like, where are you guys getting the money from to do all this stuff?
It wasn't a lot of money, but yeah, it was actually Carl's brother and maybe another guy that was working with them to do the little things that we were doing.
Okay.
And, yeah, Carl's brother ended up being our manager, Derek Martin. So that's how that went on in the early beginnings. And we had a lawyer from Morehouse, and that really could have gone really badly, but it ended up working out for us, thank goodness, because it was really bad. We're coming from a Black university, we're gonna go Black, we're gonna do this. And we had a Morehouse lawyer, and he didn't know everything. He didn't know how to dot the I's and cross the T's. And look, if we didn't have a lawyer from MCA and Nancy Taylor take care of us, we don't get the same deal that we got to make sure that we would take care of that situation for our album to do what it did. So we were really blessed in that situation to have a Black lawyer who was on the other side at MCA to take care of us and give us the
So
percentage.
that lawyer could have taken advantage of y'all,
Oh, absolutely,
oh
absolutely.
wow.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
what were some of the things that lawyer, like, what are some of the ways that she looked out?
Remember everybody was complaining about the TLC contract where they
Yeah.
didn't get their percentages. We got a higher percentage. And most of that was because If I Ever Fall in Love was on the charts and doing very well. At the same time, if your lawyer is not putting this into your contract, then it's not going to happen.
So was
So,
the lawyer like, hey, I'm looking out for y'all, and y'all?
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
She let us know. She's like, oh, if it was for me, your boy, it's not working. So we actually had to switch lawyers like once we got into the fold. But it really could have gone sideways. The contract could have been a TLC contract, and you know how hard they fought to get the money that they well deserved that they
yeah.
got. But yeah, our beginning would have been totally different.
All right, so you come out with this hit. I mean, how did y'all first get noticed and notoriety?
Actually, Carl was actually playing at a softball game, and we were just trying to shoot it to everybody all over DC because this is the summer '92. We're trying to figure out, okay, we have this song, we know what it's going to do. We've been to record companies, but how can we get it to where it needs to go? And he played at a softball game with WPGC. Paco Lopez was the DJ at the time. And I still talk to Paco. It's kind of funny. He's in Vegas, so I talk to him every so often because he's working for a station out there.
Okay.
And he actually was like, okay, if the song works, I'll play it on the radio station. And PGC at the time, I think they had a home jam section.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they played it on the radio, I'm not gonna lie, we were the ones calling, supporting, and we had all our friends calling. We're like, hey, the song's gonna be on, call and call. I was calling from my home phone and hey, I'm calling 100 times.
Oh, really?
200 times. Oh yeah. When the song first came on, that was us calling to make sure that it was going to be played again and again. But then something happened and it kept going and kept going. And even when we weren't calling, they were still playing the song. And we're like, how are they still playing the song? And it just kept going. And Paco, being as smart as he is, he's like, if I'm affiliated with a song that's doing well in DC, I can get bigger jobs somewhere else along the way. And so they played the song in Phoenix, in Houston. Nobody even knows what we look like. They're just playing the song. People are like doing home jam sections in Houston and Phoenix, and they liked it. So it kept going and kept going. But Carl, being the genius that he is, he was doing remixes for a company in LA called Gasoline Alley. And that's the company that actually ended up signing us. Okay. And because he was already doing remixes, he's like, okay, you guys have first dibs on this song that's being played in different places. So we could do a deal with you guys, or it can go somewhere else. How you want to work it? And that's pretty much how the deal got solidified with Gasoline Alley and MCA, because Carl had already kind of worked his angle.
Okay, nice. So so now that song's on the radio in DC. And so you get signed after the song?
Yes.
After that,
yes.
Oh,
yeah, because we didn't move to LA until, well, let me take that back. We moved to LA later in '92, but I want to say we went out there for the first time like September '92. And that's when Arsenio wanted us to be on the show, that kind of thing. And that was our first time being on TV.
But so you were guys working this song for how long before it actually like? Because it sounds like you were singing around campus for a while.
Yeah, we were doing that for like 7 months. 7 months.
Dang, 7 months.
7 months.
Now but when you first working on the song, were you still in college?
I was still in college.
And then, so after college, I know your parents are like, hey, we want you to go this route in terms of your career.
I was playing it both ways. I set up for grad school at Howard for a School of Education. My mom had a friend who was already over there. I would walk over to the School of Education every day and go see him. So I was set up in case we couldn't make the deal. But I had a feeling the deal was going to happen. So I was like, just in case something falls back, I can go to grad school. And once we got to the point where the song was on the radio, I had to make a decision. And pretty much the decision was, I'm going to go travel the world, be with the group, go to LA, and then see how far we can go with it.
So when you get a deal, what type of energy, like what does that do for you all once you get a deal, having a song already that you know people are going to gravitate to?
Oh man, I think the confidence level is sky high because you already have a song going.
Yeah.
You already know what the reaction is. You already know that it's heading towards number one. So your confidence is just through the roof. And doing an album, I mean, we had more leverage because the song was on the radio. The record company actually wanted us to work with other producers, but with the song on the radio, we didn't have time. So we were like, okay, we already have songs. Can we do songs that we have? And we kept doing them. Comforter was the next song, ready to go. Baby, I'm Yours was the next song, ready to go. Together Forever was ready to go. All these other songs were ready to go. And we just kept submitting. And by the time the album was ready to come out in December, I mean, we worked from August all the way through December to make sure the album could come out because it was a Christmas release.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how did your life change in the course of this time? Because it had to be crazy to be singing this song for free, working, and now
it's crazy.
Stardom.
It's crazy. It's stardom, but we got taken away from DC, which was my favorite part of being there and having the song on the radio and knowing that all of DC has your back.
Yeah.
It's good to have that, but the focus of doing music was hard. So I think that's one of our decisions to leave and actually go to LA and focus on doing everything there. And still learning studio situations. I mean, DC is one thing to do studio work there, but LA had, you're official. Once you do music in LA, it's official. You're in official studios and you're doing stuff.
How does that change things when you go to LA?
I just think
is it becomes like a business now?
Yes. Yeah. Complete business.
Does that stunt your creativity at all when it's like, hey guys, we need another If I Ever Fall in Love, you know?
Yeah, you definitely get that. But at the same time, because we already knew we had these songs in the can, we just kept working on those songs. We were like, we're not going to focus on doing another hit. We're just going to focus on the songs that we were already working on while we were at Howard during that spring semester that we already kind of perfected. Let's make sure they're the best songs they can be, and then get it to the point where that record can make sense.
Okay. Man, that's crazy. So
and it happened real fast. So once we get to LA, I mean, we're working. I mean, we're going to the apartment where we stayed, going to the studio, going back to the apartment where we stayed, go to the studio. Everybody thought I was crazy because I wasn't really going out for the nightlife and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to work. I just wanted to make songs. I just wanted to do everything possible. If I did go somewhere, it's going to be to a concert. Yeah. And one of the concerts that we went to was a Jonesy Concert. And so we went to that concert and we were like, wow, if we have to be as good as that, we got a lot of work to do.
So who are some of the, because you came up in an era where, like, what I like about this song, this is like one of the few songs that can be played with music or without music.
Yes.
Know? And you guys came, it's like an acapella era, which I know that Jodeci is good at.
Yeah.
Boyz II Men is good at.
Yeah.
So there's a level of pressure and there's a standard when it's your first song, like your first record is like crazy like this.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know, what was there anything that prepared you for this? I mean, I know you know your father had passed. You went through becoming an alpha, you know, so you did have some.
Yeah, definitely stepping stones. Looking back, saying that you're going to be prepared because you've been doing this and just performing shows all my life, pretty much at that point. Just singing with the choir and doing songs. And, you know, I grew up in the youth choir, so I've always been around music. My uncle prepared me. I've been playing piano since I was 12. So I always had auditions, recitals. I was already like playing in front of people for a long time. So it's just kind of par for the course. And I think what keeps you like on edge, there's always another big something coming up. So even though you're in LA, your first big performance is going to be back at Howard Homecoming 92. So we actually performed 3 songs on campus.
Really?
And Mary
perform on campus?
Yeah. We came back to perform on campus, and Mary J was there, Low Key was there. Everybody was in the back. So I mean, Homecoming was just like coming home to your campus for that environment after you just left and your song's playing on the
Oh
radio.
man, what was that like? I mean, when
Incredible.
you come back to homecoming, I mean, we know
We
what homecoming is like. You know what I'm saying? What is it like to come back to homecoming with
there is no
songs that
feeling
everybody want to hear? And
song
you
that everybody wants to hear, but you're celebrating with your friends that you just left because your friends that are still in school are still there, and
yeah,
the people who graduated are coming to homecoming. So we're staying at the Grand Hyatt, I think, off of H Street, and we're just hanging out and just everything. We're performing with I'll Be Sure the second night. The night after the homecoming show, we're performing with I'll Be Sure the second night, and he's showing us how to get ready for a show, sound check, that kind of thing. So you're kind of in the middle of both worlds. You're doing the Howard thing, but you're also doing the professional thing as well. And you're just kind of getting used to how it's going to be for the rest of your career.
man, that's crazy. I mean,
It was crazy. It was great.
So your homecoming, were you able to like kick it at all, like in terms?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, I had a cousin who was still on campus, my cousin Nona. So the first thing I always do is see all my people. Like I just see people all over campus. I'm walking across, and because at that point, Shai, the album hadn't come out, so you're popular. At the same time, there's still all your friends that you were in school with. Everybody's happy for you, celebrating, and they knew the journey that we had been on previously, so they're just celebrating with you.
That's a big jump from the talent show.
Yes.
to now you being featured. You know what I mean?
Well, for it happening within a year, yeah, happened very fast.
Was your attitude like, hey, I'm having fun with it, you know?
That was my attitude, but I also knew that I had talent, but I knew I needed to learn a lot more about the industry. So I didn't want to put myself in a position where I could get caught flat-footed, not knowing what to do in the studio, how to really deal with budgets and that kind of thing. So I was just trying to soak it in.
So at that time, you were kind of conscious of, this could all go away.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I was scared of it. Yeah, I was scared of it going away. And like every Tuesday would come up and the song would do what it did. And I was like, oh, this is Christmas again. Oh my God, they're still doing it. It's still doing it. I mean, what do you do with that? I didn't even know. I didn't even know that it was possible that your song could be on the chart like that and still do it. So even by the time Comforter came out with the album, it was still registering. People still liked us. They still knew what we were doing, and the video was coming out, and we recorded it right before Christmas time. So I went home, and that's always the true test too. When you go home during the holidays, and you get to see how your folks are taking it all in. Everybody's like, "People don't believe you're my cousin." I'm like, "Well, tell them that you're my cousin, and if you want me to call them, I'm gonna call them for you and say what it is." The album came out Christmas of that year.
Okay,
so
the album comes out Christmas.
Yeah.
And the album is well received.
Well received, yeah.
So I know that's like, woo.
That's a relief.
That's
a relief.
That's a
because the record company had been saying, well, if it doesn't do, and we tried to get you with these producers and this and that, and we're like, we got this. Just let us do it. And then it's interesting because I think Carl had to go home because his uncle passed away during the process. And so Together Forever was one of those songs where one of the last 3 songs we did was that one. And went to the studio, and of course I've been practicing all my life trying to do it. We're on the acoustic piano, and I ended up playing one take, and I said, oh, I messed up on this part. So I went back and played it one more time. So on the album, it's the second take that I've ever played of Together Forever in the studio. And then we sang everything else on top of it.
Wow.
So it's played all the way through, and then we actually did the singing parts afterwards. So people don't know the process of how you do a song, and usually the music's on there, and then you go back and sing the hooks, and then you go back and do the verses afterwards.
So wait, what comes first again?
The music. A lot of times the music will come first. So
when you say the music, what does that mean?
The actual the structure of the song, all the musical sequences, the drum patterns, the piano parts, the violin parts, or whatever it was. But because Together Forever was piano only, I had to play it in my head and know exactly what the song needed to do, how strong it needed to be in certain parts, how diminished it needed to be in some parts. And so all the levels had to be done up here, as opposed to just depending on MPC 60 to play the whole thing for me. And so the second take is the actual take on the record. and everything else is done after that. So when Carl came back from the funeral, we actually just laid his part in the hook and played it back down, and the verses were done. And we did 2 other songs while he was gone. And I think one of those songs was created after the Jonesy concert, Changes. I wrote that one during that song because I like the groove of it and how Jodeci used to lay back and do the boom. So we did a song like that for our record just to kind of complete the feel of it. Mm-hmm. So that was fun doing that record as well. And it was real well received. Like we would play it like during the album tour and people were like, we like Changes too. I'm like, really? Like, wow, I'm really surprised because, you know, that song was kind of done like later on and we had already done this other stuff.
Is it hard being in a group with friends?
It's hard being in a group with friends because you're around each other all the time. There are influences that come. But I would say it's also the shared family aspect of, because everybody's family was so happy about everything we had done. And whenever you go to a particular person's city, their families will come out, you meet their cousins, you meet the moms, you meet the parents, and all of that. So you share it in the success, you share that with somebody else's family. So by the time you come to do a show like Soul Train or you're doing Arsenio and your mom are coming in town. And just
that's crazy.
Oh, it's crazy.
Man,
it's crazy.
So you
all of this happened
from Drew Hall to Arsenio.
Yes. Yes.
So where are the places that you guys traveled?
Oh my goodness. We went to London a lot, went to Paris, went to Amsterdam. That was one of my favorites. Sydney, Australia. Let's see, Japan. We did a week-long show in Tokyo, Japan. So Tokyo and Osaka. So by that point, we had formed our band, and most of our band actually is from DC and also went to Howard as well. Nice. So we got to bring people that we knew from campus and have them come along on our journey. And of course, the record people are like, well, don't you want LA guys to play? And we're like, that would be nice, but we want to bring our people because, you know, this is an experience that only comes once in a lifetime. And we want to make sure that we take our folks on the road with us.
Wow, so you guys were kind of conscious of all of that stuff.
Yeah, very much so.
Going to these places, these foreign countries, and people in the audience know the words to your song.
It's phenomenal. Like going to Japan and have people speaking and singing every lyric. I mean, they knew a rap song we done on our album, Flavor. They knew every single word. Like, I can't imagine, like, writing the song in the studio and going somewhere else and then they want you to sign everything and they know everything about you. They've already done the research and the internet wasn't like it is now, but they still knew it. And like, are you kidding me? Like, doesn't make any sense. Like, you go around the world and people just love and they clamor for you. It's a little dangerous sometimes because when you're doing the in-stores, it can get a little crazy. But at the same time,
like people like trying to rush.
Oh yeah. They kind of rush the table and the security isn't always great. So there have been a couple of times, I think even in Detroit, we had to go out through the shopping mall through the back door, that kind of thing. They had to shut the mall door down. Yeah, it can get a little wild.
Dang.
It comes with the territory.
Are groupies a part of being an R&B singer or no?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny that. They just, they're just people who know everything about you, know where you're going to be. They know what hotel you're going to be. They know where the bus is going to be. They know, and they just find out, and they meet you from city to city to city.
So do your daughter's friends, I'm sure they know that song.
They do, yeah. So they look at her. She didn't really tell them that she's associated with me at first, and they kind of figured it out over the years. And like, wait a minute, you're that?
Yeah.
And she downplays it though, because to her, I mean, I was just that guy that came into her life, and all of a sudden, but when it clicked, she's like, "Oh, you are actually in a group you guys were really famous." I'm like, "Yeah."
But Baby I'm Yours, that was a jam too.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all had a few joints that was like, "Oh, okay, yeah. I'm not gonna buy this CD just for this one song." Like, you had a few joints.
And that was the purpose of putting that album together like that, because we knew we had things that could relate. And then we insisted that we come back to Howard to do something. We didn't know which video it was going to be,
I want to talk about that.
yeah. So when it ended up being "Baby I'm Yours," oh man, that was so much fun. That's like probably one of the best experiences that we had in the group, to actually bring that back, to actually have people film on campus, to have the whole set on campus, to use spots that we had just, been practicing at, learning at, watching football games at, to use all those spots on campus to bring the campus alive and show the world what campus was really about. I mean, if you didn't know what Howard was before then, you knew from that video.
Yeah.
And that was the whole purpose of bringing that.
Can you see it?
Oh, I can see it now, yeah.
Man, what was this like doing this?
It was incredible. Incredible. And yeah, you see Darlene there.
That's Darlene?
That was Darlene in the green shirt.
Oh man, look at this, man. This is crazy.
And Ananda was working for Teen Summit, so we would see her through the years, and she ended up going to MTV. So we see her along the way. And then Joy works for Atlantic Records.
Yeah, Joy is coming on the show soon.
Oh, wonderful. She's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's worked very, very, very hard to, man, whatever she's touched turned to platinum. She's done phenomenal work. A great young lady too. Very, very sweet.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever think that a lot of people went to Howard because of that video? Do you know that?
That's what we did it for. we wanted to expose the world to our campus. I mean, we knew what our experience was like. So we said, okay, if we can make an experience, something that we didn't know was going to be on MTV and play like that, though, we had no idea.
Man,
so, and that was because of the record company affiliation that we had with Randy Phillips. He had the association with MTV. So you're thinking, okay, BET is going to show, we can show it to all the HBCU people and all the Black people want to come to school. But for it to be on MTV and publicized around the world, for your campus to be on that.
At this time, is BET headquartered in DC at this time?
They were when we were coming up. I think they didn't leave until the next record in about 95.
Wow.
I think that's when they left.
Yeah, you guys influenced a lot of people to come to Howard, dropping that video. I think I was like in 8th grade. Obviously, that was a little over my head. But even now, like I just put that video on Instagram, and I don't know if you saw, I tagged you in it, like the comments. Like,
oh, yeah.
Everybody is just like everybody's just writing all these comments about, oh, this song just takes me back and makes me feel this way. Like, how does it feel to know that your music, a song that you was a part of, 20 plus years ago, 25 plus years ago, still impacts people that way?
It's everything you want about songwriting. That's what you do it for. That's what the music's for. You pour your time into it in the studio and you hope it turns out like that. But in addition to that, we get to showcase our campus. We get to showcase the place that put us together. You get to do all these things with people that you love and care about. And then all of that turns into, you're still getting letters now. I'm still getting invites to do weddings. I'm still performing at weddings. Oh yeah, absolutely. I did a wedding. I did a wedding last August, and they actually took my family out because they wanted me to come, but it was my son's birthday. And they were like, well, bring your son and your wife, and they could come too. And sure, I could do that. And I made it work, and still performing together forever at weddings.
Like literally, like I'm looking at these comments, man. These are people that graduated with me, talking like they was a part of this movement. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how touched people are. So that's dope. So the first album is great, man. I mean, do you what is it like to get that first big paycheck? What is that like?
Nothing like it.
Yeah.
And not to only get the first paycheck, we got several more paychecks out of that. And then, your life just changes. It just changed overnight. And then, I was happy to have a job, basically. I knew at that point, this is what I wanted to do for a long time. And whatever I could do to keep it going for as long as I could, that's what I wanted to do.
So at this point, are you still like in the back of your mind, like, hey, this can still be taken away? Are you like,
yes.
saving them? Are you being like financially smart? Are you building
Absolutely.
relationships? Like,
Absolutely.
what are some of the things that you're doing?
Because I was in LA, I didn't really spend too much, but I did. I bought my first house in '94. Um,
In
Mainly
LA?
because we were in the valley, so I used to get a lot of headaches, and I got smog headaches when I moved here, and I didn't know what it was. So eventually, I moved towards the beach area, and as soon as I moved that direction, all the headaches cleared up.
Wow.
And I didn't even know that could happen, but that's one of those things. I started getting asthmatic over time, and really never had to deal with that before. But it's one of those health condition things you have to kind of check out along the way. And so after time, yeah, I'm not spending a lot of money. I'm trying to do this, invest. I'm trying to get my equipment and do stuff at the house. I had a home studio, and I was just trying to make it work. And between there and the studio, I wasn't trying to spend too much. So yeah, I was very conscious about it could all be taken away, and what can you do to minimize that pain.
Welcome to the Goldfish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Goldfish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. So when you're an artist like that and you have stardom, like your first project does well, who are the people that you need to have in your corner? Like, who are those essential pieces that you need there to help you make decisions that if things don't go well down the end,
Mhm.
you still land in a good place.
Definitely the marketing department, publicity, and you still got to deal with the aspect of you're an R&B artist, so you're already seen not like a rock group per se, but at the same time, if you don't treat yourself like a rock group, then you're not gonna get the same type of attention to get the money that a rock artist would get. So you definitely need to make those relationships. You got to show up and knock on the door and say, "Hey, I'm just saying hello. I'm in the building, and I'm just saying hello to you." It makes a difference. International publicity, domestic publicity. You have to knock on those doors and go in there. And I don't care if they're white or black or whatever they are. They're people who are meaningful to your career, and you need to say thank you. And if you don't, then they'll talk about you because they're like, "Man, we did all this for Shy, and they don't even say nothing to us. They don't even say hello. They don't do this." And the word gets out after a while where, they feel like it's not helping you. You're not helping them, and you're not helping them. So it can get real cloudy. And then when somebody gets fired, let's say our whole black division got fired or let go, there's a whole new division that comes in. And that's what happened for the Blackface album, where Hank Shockley and some more people came in. We had to develop a whole new relationship. And it wasn't easy at first. We made it work to a degree, but I don't think they had the full confidence that we believed in them like we knew the previous administration had worked for us. Mm-hmm. So, I wish we had done a little bit more to help them. I wish we had done more to kind of be in their face and kind of say, "Hey, we want to make this work. So how can we make it work?" And we know how it worked the first time, but how can we make it the second time? And Carl was really good with doing that, but I don't think all four of us were good with doing that. And that kind of probably burned us in the butt for the second project.
But the Blackface album, you still had it was what Come With Me. That was a
Come With Me was on it, yeah, and Place Where You Belong was on it, and that was part of the soundtrack to
I Don't Want to Be Alone.
I Don't Want to Be Alone, yep.
So those did relatively well, right?
They did well, but everybody's, like you said earlier, everybody's trying to match it against If I Ever Fall in Love. And when you don't match purely against that, you're going to have some problems, or people are feeling like, well, the group is this, or maybe they're not where they were before. They're not practicing like they used to. And there are a lot of question marks that come along when it's all because your song isn't doing as well on the charts. It's not because the group is absolutely different, but you're just in a different place in your musical career. So at that point, I say you have to work harder. You can't just go back and say, "Well, why isn't this working?" You have to go back and keep working. How does that affect the group dynamic when I think mentally we were exhausted at that point because we had been doing, it was the first record, then we had been on tour for the Budweiser Superfest, so we did 2 runs of that, and then we came back to finish the Blackface record. But the company was trying to say they wanted the record earlier. In retrospect, we should have had it ready earlier. But at the same time, we wanted to craft a good record, which was really important to us, because if you're saying that you want us to grow and be in a certain place, don't you want us to take the time to grow that record like a Sade, like some other groups, that, and not just a cookie cutter record, to have it just like If I Ever Fall in Love? And that's what we were trying to create, a more conceptual record. And in a lot of ways, I think we did, because the record was totally different, but it was well produced. And we were able to bring in Ron Lawrence. He ended up going to Bad Boy, but he went to Howard with us as well. And he worked on During the Storm with me. So he did the drum track on that. So just playing Derek, D-Dot was on the record.
D-Dot was the one that did Tracy's
yeah.
deal. So
yeah,
man, that's crazy.
Yeah, World is Small.
D-Dot, then he was telling me about the Hitman, all these people that went to Howard. I'm like, wow, man.
Yeah, Ron Lawrence is
really
the
golden era, man.
Yeah, Ron went to Bad Boy. He's one of the Hitman. Yeah, he worked there. He did. What was the first one that really Biggie recognized?
Yeah, with Hypnotize.
Hypnotize. Yes. Yeah. So when he did that.
So when you guys are, when things like aren't, you guys are, it's solid, but it's not what it was before. I mean,
yeah.
So now you get probably friction in the group, but then there's probably friction coming from
all directions.
The label. Do you start to doubt yourself, or how does that, what happens?
I don't know if there's necessarily doubt, but just mentally we have been together so long. We were just trying to figure out how we can keep it going and stay with the company, because they brought in after
trying to keep your job now.
Yes. And so they brought in another guy to run with the people who they just brought in for the Blackface record. So by this time, Carl has left the group. So the 3 of us, myself, Darnell, and Garfield, are going to a meeting with a totally new guy, and he's trying to figure out if we have enough to keep it going.
Is that scary when somebody leaves a group? Is that scary? Like, you're like, man.
It's frightening.
This dude wrote our first hit single,
Right.
Now he's gone. And was he frat too?
Yes.
Man.
Yeah.
There's so many different dynamics at play.
So many different dynamics.
And classmate.
And the thing is, he really, like I said, he really wanted to produce and do other stuff. So I couldn't really blame him for doing what he thought was best for him. But
that was his choice.
That was his choice, yeah.
That takes a lot to walk away from something, even if you think it's the best choice.
Yes.
That's hard to do.
It's very hard to do.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, we've talked about it over the years, and I realized how tough it was, and he let me know what he was going to do. I didn't feel like it was the right thing, but at the same time I understood. Mm-hmm. And I just tried to go, okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to just try to stick it out for as long as I can, because that's how I see it. And that's how we ended up going independent, going towards the Destiny record of 1999. Mm-hmm. And then, it's just hard. It's just hard. When you go from that point to the middle point and then going independent, where you have to do more work than you ever did before. But there are a lot of gratifying aspects of doing independent too, which I didn't know about.
What would you say is like something gratifying about being an independent artist?
For me, I like being hands-on. So as far as, making phone calls and talking to people and helping to set up shows and do stuff around the country. We were able to go around the South and do stuff we never did before. I was basically learning how to be a manager at that point, setting up hotels and flights and all the stuff that people didn't necessarily want to do. I got a kick out of doing all that stuff.
Yeah, I talked to Eric Roberson, and he was saying he said he's always been independent artist, which is, and he's got like 15 albums.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually booked Eric to do a reunion. My brother's chapter in Alpha did the 75th anniversary, and I got Eric to go down for the show, so I helped him get booked for that one. So yeah, all the documents and everything else. Yep.
Nice.
That was just stuff I was doing back then. So I was like, yeah, I'll try to help a bison out and try to get him on the road. So.
Wow. So at this point, things aren't what they were. Like, what's your mindset now? Because I know you're in real estate now. So are you thinking about, man, I'm gonna do a complete 180, or are you like,
No, I got by the time 99 came, I was all hands on deck. I mean, I was writing like I had never written before. I was producing like never before. I learned the guitar from my guitar teacher, Pocket Honore, who he was in our Blackface band. So he was teaching me guitar. So I was trying to do everything I could just to learn as much as I can more about music. And he went to a school out here called MI. So his training ground was a little different than what we were doing. So I just tried to learn aspects of how he learned and bring it to the table. And by the time we did the independent project, I took all my gear out to Baltimore because the company was in Baltimore, Big Play Records. And it was a bro, Michael Jackson, who played for the Ravens. Okay. So we went to his studio. His studio was already built out, and we agreed to do the record out there. And man, for about a month, I just laid like 20, 25 tracks, and every day I was just grinding out, and doing all kind of records. And then D would bring in his tracks, and Garfield would bring in his stuff, and we did maybe like 50 tracks for that record. Yeah.
So did you ever write songs for any other artists other than yourself?
Not really.
No.
I never ventured into that because I always wanted to pour what I was writing into the group.
Yeah.
I probably should have. That would have been a great aspect to do. But I think the few opportunities that I had, I didn't know what to do with it at the time. And I didn't know how to balance the group and writing for another act, because I did have acts, come up to me and say, I want you to write such and such. I just didn't know how to balance that time, or am I going to be able to fly from the group and go somewhere else and do something else and come back? How would that have friction with the group? It's a very tedious thing. And I didn't know how to navigate that at 24.
How is that when you are in a group and you're presented with other opportunities and they're just like, no, we just want you to do it? Is that tough?
It is tough. It is tough because you're basically saying I'm turning down money to do something else, guaranteed money. You want me to turn that down just so I can do everything in-house, where the money is not necessarily guaranteed. If it works, it's fine, but it's not guaranteed. And so it can cause some dissension and bitterness if you really think about it in terms of money. And actually, is it a smart business plan to not have talented people in your group not write for other people outside your group? Because when the record company situation comes up like it did, if you're writing for other artists, that could turn into another situation down the road. Mm-hmm. So maybe you should have let somebody else do something for another company or another group, and then maybe that could turn into another record situation down the road. So I don't know if you know that at 24, 25, but looking back, I could definitely say that was probably a mistake.
Yeah, man. So, in terms of like branding, like was there, how like I watch movies or watch documentaries, and they're like the label wanted us to act this way, but that's not who we were. I had another artist on here, and he was saying, being a hip hop artist, sometimes it was just a good look to have a lot of security. It just created a perception that you were kind of bigger than what you were. Were there ever any things that the label might have asked you to do that you didn't do, that you maybe looking back, maybe you should have did it, or vice versa?
I just think we didn't understand the dynamics of dealing with, like, when you did promo stuff and you're doing stuff for the Black Journalist Convention and you don't show up. That's a detrimental mistake, and you have to make up for that. There was a whole convention, and we were tired because we've been doing everything. For If I Ever Fall in Love, all the promo, I think we had just gotten off the road, come off a plane, and we were just dog tired. And we made the mistake of not performing for Black journalists. Now, Black journalists are very important to any Black artist because they write everything about you, and what they say is very important to how you're projected in the future of anything that you do. But we were so dog tired that we
They don't
didn't
want to
know.
hear that. They don't want to
Don't
hear
want to hear that. Don't want to hear that. Didn't want to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that though, but that's
Yeah.
part of like the whole thing. So when people are saying NSYNC did this and they may not deserve that, everybody who gets a number one, and I've been in that position to know exactly what they cannot say no to and what that feels like as a group.
Wow. So some stuff you can't say no to.
No, no. There are so many situations that come up where a radio station will play another radio station against each other and say, if you do that for the other radio station, we're not going to play your record. And the same for the other station. So how do you balance that out? The record company or the promotion guy has to navigate that. So does that come down to money? If it comes down to the group saying no, we're not going to say no because we want both stations to play. So how are we supposed to play it? Their agreements have to be made, but how does the artist, how does a group reconcile that? So how do we navigate that?
Man. So what about, just seeing how artists are like now are so business minded now in
I
terms
love it.
of like taking control of their brand
I love it.
and just doing stuff. As soon as they get a deal, they got a label too under them. Like
Those were all the things that we talked about doing it back then. It just wasn't set up. The game was different. It wasn't until digital downloads came into play in the late 90s, the whole Napster thing, digital, downloads and making money off of that changed everything, and the models changed. Even how you do home recordings now, that wasn't the case back when we were recording. You had to go to an official situation to get the recordings done, get things mastered in a certain situation. And I'm not knocking anything against that. People still do it today. But the fact that people don't have to do that now just gives people more options to get out there and have their platforms on Apple Music, Spotify, CD Baby, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I love every second of it because
Yeah, man, you're right. Because I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's what everything's about. And the thing is, you have to be smart as an artist as well to take advantage of if people come your way. That knock doesn't happen for everybody. So are you going to take the knock, or are you going to ignore it and let somebody else take the role? I'm like, no, I'm going to take that knock and talk to you. So
yeah, wow.
Because that's value time. I value your time, and I appreciate that every little thing. And again, if a Howard person is asking me to do something, I'm probably 10 times out of 10 I'm going to do it because that's the honor that we give to each other. That's just what it is.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. So, when you get, I guess I don't know how it works, when you get dropped from a label or it don't get re-signed. What is that message like? Like, what happened? Did someone tell you, or did you see it coming?
You kind of see it. You see it coming because people don't react to you. They ignore your phone calls.
Yeah, that person picking
when you
up
got number one song, you get everybody to answer your phone. Man, and that's stop.
Yeah.
No, he's not out of the office. Like, what? Are you serious?
Yeah.
But I think it's a moment that you reflect. Don't overthink it though. I mean, you went to Howard, you think about the situation, you regroup, come up with another scenario. And that's why the big play thing with Mike was great. It was a situation with a frat brother and just trying to make it work. It didn't work great, but it provided some angles of outlet to be able to go into a studio and work out everything and come out with some songs that some people like. And, it led us to the next situation. So, there's nothing wrong with that. And there would be no Boney James.
On the Ravens? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah, he's passed away now, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
He died in a bicycle accident a few years back. But I did get a chance to talk to him years later, and we reconciled. And I commended him. I said, thank you for doing what you did for us, because if you hadn't done that, I mean, I don't know where the brand goes. I don't know what we do. There's no Boney James record. I'll Always Love You probably never happens if we don't keep doing something to keep the situation going and touring and all that kind of stuff. Because we ended up touring a lot in Germany around 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all because we just kept the name afloat, kept going around performing with H-Town and Silk and
Wow.
people that we were still.
Y'all beat Silk for an Image Award too.
Yeah, they were a little salty about that. That's our boys, though. Man, I'll never forget the first time we met them. We were in a club in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And you ever have somebody just kick your butt and you don't know what to do about it? Like we were getting ready to sing, and Keith Sweat had them boys ready, and they sang backstage and they sang everything a cappella, and they came out and we were like, oh man, we got to deal with these cats every night. And we did, but we kind of knew what we were getting into. But they sang that night. We knew
what
they
is
were
it like to be on tour with other talented acts like that?
It's exciting because you root each other on, but it's a competition. We really had that Temptations, groups against that camaraderie, but at the same time, I'm trying to kick your butt at the same time, kind of every night. And placement of your act in the show can kind of play into it.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, let's see, the Budweiser Superfest, we kind of played a trick on them. Our clothes hadn't come for the Budweiser Superfest, so we did a show the night before in Vegas before the Superfest opened in Sacramento. And now we're wearing black shirts, black jeans, black boots. We're just downplaying everything, not knowing when our clothes were going to get there, but we're just like, we're going to do this show. And they're all suited and booted and doing their thing. And we did our show. We did really well. But the next day we had a 3-suit change, and we did all kinds of stuff for the Superfest, and we were serenading women on stage, and nobody saw it coming. So they were like, oh my God, this group is for real. And they have a show. And so when you change the dynamics in the middle of a tour like that, it's game on, and they were ready every night after that.
Is it hard being in relationships when you're on tour like that?
It's difficult because you can't spend time doing everything with your loved one. You're away most of the time, phone calls, and back then, you had the calling cards, the toll cards, all that kind of stuff. So we're calling collect and doing all that kind of stuff. And it's just difficult. And then trusting us with the groupies and all that kind of stuff. I mean, are you supposed to trust somebody in that situation?
Not really.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah. So, you're dealing with all of that. It's hard. It's hard. And
y'all had good training for that. You was an alpha. So I'm sure after you came out, being on Howard's campus, I'm sure that was a good
it was a good training ground. Yeah. Now, I definitely tried to be as loyal as possible, but
you got weak.
Oh man, it's always that one day.
Yeah, man. So when you did get dropped from the label, like what goes through your mind at that point?
You don't like it, but at the same time, like I said, I was all hands on deck and practicing and writing songs. I didn't stop, not at that point, because I figured this is the best time to write the best music I've ever written. Mm-hmm. And if I don't do it now because I'm not attached to a label, then when am I going to do it? So I practiced all the time. I was dealing with stuff and writing and doing everything at the home studio and just getting my act together. So by the time the Big Play situation came up in '99, I was ready. I was ready to actually do a lot of songs, and all those songs didn't make it to the record.
What's a Big Play? What's that?
Big Play. We actually did a record with KRS-One on that one. The record's called Destiny.
Okay.
And KRS-One is on that one. And it's the first time we actually feature Eric Willis on it. Eric went to Howard with us as well. And so we actually brought him in to do a lot of stuff during that time. And so he sang on the record a lot.
Okay.
So he actually toured with us through 2003, 2004, all that time. So yeah, we were all writing together and just making things work. So he actually did a lot of the jazz records that we did too. Because I don't know if people realize, but we did a lot of Warner Brothers jazz like singles with Rick Braun, Kirk Whalum, Bob James.
So the music business has been good to you.
Very good. Very good. There's no complaints that I have
Okay.
because we've been able to be associated with different genres of music. And if you go back in like different companies, they have our connection with them. So all of that training ground for Howard laid it out for us. You keep your relationships, you keep
So
working
at
with
this
people.
point, you branch off. Now you're doing your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice, man. So that's interesting. So is there like even today, like do people stop you? Like do people
Yes.
know who you are?
Every so often.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a little different now. It's been years and I'm a little older, that kind of thing. But once they get it, if I tell somebody what it is, they remember the song. So they're like, oh my God, for real? And I still live in LA. Yep. They're like, really? And oh man, I remember that song and it did this for me. And there's nothing like it, nothing like that experience whatsoever.
Wow. Wow. So what are some of the things you're up to today?
Between writing and kind of getting my studio back together, the real estate thing, but actually raising my son. I
Mhm.
got married 2014, and the young lady from the video, Darlene, lived out here in Los Angeles. So we actually ran across each other because our drummer, Gordon Campbell, went to church with her. He plays at our church.
Oh,
And so
okay.
he saw her at the church and mentioned to her that I was here. And he mentioned to me that she was in town. And I was like, really? And so we ran across each other because Chris Dave, who was a drummer from Howard as well, was playing for Michelle Indigo Cello. So we actually ran into each other 2003 at a club out here. And so ever since then, we kind of stayed in touch. And she had a daughter in 2000. And so she was raising her daughter at the time. So we just kind of stayed in touch over the years, but we didn't get married till 2014. And then a year later, we had our son, 2015. So he's 4 now,
Okay.
about to go to kindergarten in the fall. So he's been keeping me busy pretty much the last almost 5 years.
Wow. 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 And you're also doing real estate too.
Doing real estate too as well, Keller Williams Beach Cities. And I've been with them almost 6 years now. So
Mm.
between learning the market and learning the LA market and trying to deal with this crisis that we got going on now, it's been a whirlwind world, and I'm all for it, all for it. And I'm still writing too, so you never know if I'm gonna come out with a song or anything that comes up.
What if you had to give somebody some advice that was coming into Howard right now and
Movie.
they wanted to, you know, do it all, have all the experiences that you had as an undergrad and the success that you've had post
Mhm.
graduate, what advice do you give that person?
I think anybody that comes into Howard, I think you need to soak up every advantage of campus. That means don't stay in your room and just not come out and meet people all around campus. Get to know people on campus, get involved with different organizations. If I didn't do half the stuff that I did for University Choir, Between the Alphas, all the organizations that, even my state club, I mean, I met people in my state club that I still know to this day because I just went to the meetings and hung out with them, but they all knew who I was and supported me.
Hmm.
So, if you stay in your room, you can't learn how to really learn the life of DC. And I think even for DCites, I mean, learn the city, learn how to get around, learn how to get to places that you wouldn't venture out to, learn Virginia, learn Maryland. I mean,
Yeah,
these are things I tell my daughter all the time. I'm like, don't stay in that room. You got to go out and get to the train, learn stuff. Be careful, of course, but at the same time, learn how to get around. And you learn DC, you're going to learn every city in the world because when you're on the road, there may not be people to take you around everywhere. You need to learn how to really get out and use a train and kind of get out. You might have to order from a menu in a different language, which I've actually done now. So, when you start doing that stuff around the world, you have to prepare yourself to get ready to be that global person and not just the person where you came from.
absolutely, definitely. What about in terms of legacy? 100 years from now,
Ooh,
what are people saying about Marc?
I think for me, I just want to make sure that I want people to know my love for Howard. And I want people to know my love for family. And I want them to know what I instill in people that I love. That if you put in the hard work every day, you may not see it right away, but it's going to come out. And as long as you're honest and truthful with yourself and you do good for others, you're going to be fine. And that legacy will last a long time, because the friends that I have, they know that I spent time with them. There are things that they tell me that I've said to them I don't remember saying, but these are things that I feel and I believe. And if somebody just calls me at 2 a.m. for advice, I'm going to give it to them. I wake up and answer the phone. I'm still that person that was in Drew Hall in 1987 and room 240, and I'm loving it. Loving looking at the reservoir, and it's cold, and I'm thinking about, WHUR, Quiet Storm, and listening to Alexander O'Neal, and thinking about what a music career could be, and going to the student station with my room. Well, actually, it's my neighbor. He worked at the student station, so I went down there at WHBC and did like a little demo tape with him, just because I could. He was already there. So I just have fun with him. And then it ends up years later, Ben Carter, he works at the station. So we're taking a picture with him after the group comes back. And Ben's working in the industry later on. I mean, you just never know where people are going to end up. We talked about Stan Verrett earlier.
Ben Carter, is that the guy that he's the Alpha?
He is, yes. Yeah.
I had him on last week too.
Did you? Oh my God.
Yeah, he has a liquor company.
He has a liquor company now. Yep. Yeah. And so he worked at HBC too. Stan Verrett worked at a station in Virginia, so we got to interview with him after we came out, and Stan's at ESPN now. I mean, you never know where people are going to be. You just, but you have to keep working on your skills, though. That's the main thing. Keep working on it and do the work. Do the work behind closed doors, and everything is going to pan out.
Thanks for coming on the show. I mean, it's so much. It's so good to hear from somebody who with a number one. You know what I mean? Number one, and this is you got a number one in probably one of the hardest times to get.
I think so.
A number one when it comes to just having like talent. You know what I mean?
I mean, truthfully, I think we had number two because Whitney had us stuck. And Whitney had like the longest running number one. And so we were number two forever. But it feels like a number one because the song
it was number one U.S. R&B and hip hop. Right. Just U.S. But
exactly.
To your point, I mean, I'm just looking at the charts now. Like, I mean, it was number 4, I think Australia, 5 in New Zealand. It was top 50 in Germany, the UK, Netherlands. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, they know our song, they know our stuff in Africa, okay? Yeah. And that's like one of my end goals. I want to go to Africa with my brother and see the whole continent, see all the way through, and get some love over there. Because
have you been to Africa? You never been?
I have not, never been.
Oh yeah, you gotta go. I went twice, man. You gotta go.
Did you?
The first time I went with a bunch of people from Howard. We just like 3 years after graduation, it was like 20 of us.
My goodness.
Oh yeah, it was great.
My line brother is he founded Step Africa.
Oh really?
So he's been going.
It's a line brother, man. I gotta have him on the show because they
absolutely
do repost stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta have him on the show too.
I'll connect you.
What's his name?
Brian Williams.
Oh yeah, if you can connect me, that would be great.
Absolutely, no problem. One of the most phenomenal organizations created by Howardite. I mean, his story. I mean, when he tells it, you're gonna love it.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing, man. You just walking piece of history, man. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, or maybe book you for a wedding, or
absolutely,
or buy some real estate from you in Cali, how do they do that?
On Instagram, you can hit me at MARC_GAY, and on Facebook, it's just my name. I'm open and available. Just hit me up.
Okay, cool. So right now we want to do some little rapid fire and some Jeopardy questions.
Oh my goodness!
See what you know about Howard. Don't worry, these are easy questions.
Okay.
It's not gonna stunt you, but we're gonna have some Jeopardy. So Jeopardy, start real easy. What year was Howard founded?
What is 1867?
That's right. What is the Howard motto?
Veritas e Utilitas.
Right. Truth and service. Can you finish this sentence? Reared against the eastern sky.
Oh boy. That's where I'm stuck.
Proudly there on Hilltop High.
Right.
What is the Black national anthem?
Lift every voice and sing.
Can you finish this sentence? I'm so glad I go to Howard U.
I'm so glad I go to Howard U. Sing glory, hallelujah. Woo! I'm so glad.
There you go. What is the zip code of Howard?
20059.
Right. Who is the president of Howard?
President Frederick. And a good story about that. My Lime brothers were on the Howard soccer team that went to the national finals, and he was the manager of that team.
Wow,
So
really?
I've known President Frederick for a long time.
Man, that's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing. Who was Howard named after?
General Otis Howard.
Yeah, General Oliver Otis Howard. Good. That was good. I think I don't know if anybody else has done that well, to be honest, man. People get these questions wrong. All right, rapid fire question. So rapid fire, you got to answer the question. You can't give an explanation. You just got to answer the question.
Okay.
All right. Is homecoming better as an alum or a student?
Student.
Specialist or man of many talents?
Man of many talents.
Best Howard moment?
Graduation.
What comes to mind when you hear the word Howard experience?
Howard experience. That's so much. Howard experience, just being on that campus. I mean, just being on the yard, Spring Arts Festival, President's Picnic. I don't know if they have that anymore, but back then they had the President's Picnic at law school and Divinity, and there was nothing like it. You go over there, you knew school year was starting because everybody would come back.
Wow.
And, that President's picture, it was everything.
Biggest failure or learning lesson?
Biggest learning lesson, my divorce.
Quad or NX?
Quad.
Highlight of your career?
Clinton inauguration. For us to be on stage with Luther Vandross, Benny King, Lissa Etheridge, and singing with them, and the band was Greg Fillinganes. Definitely a proud moment for us to be in DC.
Okay, if you had to start one, bench one, and cut one. All right. Writer, singer, producer.
Oh. I would cut the singer. Bench the writer and go with the producer.
Okay. Start one, bench one, cut one.
Start the producer.
Okay. So we got another question like that.
Mm-hmm.
Perform at homecoming.
You killed me.
Perform at the biggest festival in your home city. Perform at the biggest festival or concert overseas.
Start at homecoming. Bench the festival at home, and I would cut overseas.
Okay. Talent or hard work?
Hard work.
Okay. Last question. Bench one, cut one, start one. Silk, Boys to Men, Jodeci.
Oh my God. Start Jodeci. You're killing me. Bench, Boys to Men, and I have to cut Silk.
Man, that's tough.
That's tough. I like them. Oh.
Man, well, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Josh. Thank you so much. You're my brother, so I'm definitely going to support you forever. I'll give you a link up with Brian and everything. So, man, I appreciate everything you do for Howard, and thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you for joining the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the Howard legacy at the highest levels. To hear more interviews or purchase merchandise, please visit www.humovemakers.com.